Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll solve this problem based on the concepts of sinusoidal models. So in this problem, we have to identify the amplitude, period, phase shift and vertical shift of the following trig functions. So let's start with the first equation, y equals -10 cos of x over 6. So this is a transformed cosine function. So the first step is to write the general equation of a transformed cosine function. And the general equation is y equals a cos of b parentheses x minus h plus k. So in this general equation, a, b, h and k are constants that transform the parent cosine function. Now different teachers use different letters for these four constants, but the steps stay the same no matter what letter you use. Now first we have to find the amplitude. Now amplitude is obtained from the a value. So amplitude is a value without the negative sign if a is negative. Now a is the coefficient of the cosine term, and in the given equation the a value is -10. That means the amplitude is 10. So amplitude is always a positive value. Now the next thing we have to find is period. Now there is a formula for period. So period equals 2 pi over b. Now b value is the term that is being multiplied to x. Now in this equation we can rewrite this term in the brackets as -10 cos 1 over 6x. So 1 over 6 times x is the same as x over 6. So that's why we can break it up as 1 over 6x. So that makes it easy to identify the value of b. So the value of b in this case is 1 over 6. So we can sub in the value of b as 1 over 6 to find the period. Now in order to simplify this expression, we can change it into a division statement. So we get 2 pi divided by 1 over 6. And now we can change it into a multiplication statement. So for that we'll flip the fraction after the division sign. So we get 6 over 1. Now the denominator of 2 pi is 1. So we can multiply these fractions by multiplying the numerator terms. 2 pi times 6, which is 12 pi. And the denominator is just 1, so we can ignore that. So the period of this function is 12 pi. Now phase shift is the h value. Now in the given equation, there is no term being added or subtracted to x in the parentheses. So that's why the phase shift for this given function is 0. Now vertical shift is represented by the k value, but there is no term being added or subtracted to the cosine term in the given equation. So the vertical shift is 0. So we are done with the first function. Now we can analyze the second function. Now the second function is a transformed sine function. So for this function, the first step is to rewrite this function so that we can write the sine term first and we can move the number term 5 after it. So we can rewrite this as y equals -2 sine 2x over 3 plus 5. Now we can write the general equation of a transformed sine function. which is y equals a sine and then brackets and then b parentheses x minus h and then plus k. Now we have to find the amplitude. So amplitude is the a value without the negative sign. So for this given sine function, a value is equal to -2. So the amplitude is +2. Now we can calculate the period, and for that we'll use the formula. So period equals 2 pi over b. And this given function, the b value is 2 over 3 because that's the term being multiplied to x in the given sine function. So we get 2 pi over 2 over 3. Now we can simplify this expression by writing it as a division statement, and then we change it into a multiplication statement. So we flip the fraction. So now we multiply the fraction. So 2 pi can be written as 2 pi over 1. And when we multiply the fractions, so 2 pi times 3 is 6 pi and 1 times 2 is 2. And we can reduce this fraction to 3 pi. So the period of this function is 3 pi. Now the phase shift. So phase shift is the h value. Now there is no term being added or subtracted to x in the parentheses. So that's why the phase shift is 0. And the vertical shift is the k value. Now in this case, 5 is being added to the sine term. So the k value is 5. So the vertical shift is 5 units in the upward direction because 5 is a positive number. Now we can analyze the third function. So now the third function is a transformed cosine function. So we can start with the general equation of a transformed cosine function. So y equals a cosine and then b parentheses x minus h and then plus k. Now in this given function, so the 6 is being multiplied to x and then there is plus pi in the parentheses. Now in order to find the b value and analyze this function correctly, we have to factor out the 6 from the two terms in the parentheses. So for that, we have to rewrite this function as y equals 3 and then cos. So we factor out the 6 from the two terms. So 6x changes to x and then pi changes to pi over 6. So since we are factoring out a 6, that's why we divide pi by 6. So this is the function equation we have to analyze to find the amplitude, period, phase shift and vertical shift. So let's start with the amplitude. So amplitude is the a value without the negative sign. Now in this function, a value is 3. So it is a positive value. So amplitude is 3. Now period can be calculated using the formula. So period equals 2 pi over b. And the b value in this case is 6. Because that's the term outside the parentheses that has the x and pi over 6. So we do 2 pi over 6, which can be reduced to pi over 3. So the period is pi over 3. Now we can find the phase shift. So phase shift is represented by the h value. Now in the general equation we have x minus h, but in this equation we have x plus pi over 6. That means h is equal to negative pi over 6. So this is a very important concept we need to understand and memorize. So the h value is always has a sign which is opposite to the sign of the h in the equation. So the negative sign means that the phase shift is to the left side. So we can write the phase shift as pi over 6 to the left side. It is to the left side because pi over 6 has a negative sign. So now the vertical shift. So the vertical shift is represented by the k value. In this case, there is no term being added to the cosine term. So that's why there is no vertical shift. So it is equal to 0. So now we can analyze the fourth given function. So this is a transformed sine function. Now in this function, 2 over 3 is being multiplied to x. Now since pi over 3 is being subtracted from x, we'll have to factor out 2 over 3 from the two terms in the parentheses. So we get y equals negative 4 sine. So we write 2 over 3 outside the parentheses, and then we get x. And now we have to divide pi over 3 by 2 over 3. So there's a very tricky concept you need to understand and memorize. Now we can simplify this expression. So pi over 3 divided by 2 over 3. So we can first change it into a division statement. Now we can change it into a multiplication statement. So we get 3 pi over 6 because 3 times 2 is 6, which can be reduced to just pi over 2. So that means we can rewrite the given function equation as y equals negative 4 sine 2 over 3 parentheses x minus pi over 2. Now we can answer these questions. So we can find the amplitude. So the amplitude is the a value without the negative sign. So in this case, the a value is negative 4. So the amplitude is 4. Now for period, we'll use the formula. So period equals 2 pi over the b value, which is 2 over 3. Now we can simplify this expression. So we can write it as a division statement. So 2 pi divided by 2 over 3. And now we can change it into a multiplication statement. So I can just move this down a little bit. So we get 2 pi times, so we'll flip the fraction, 3 over 2. And now we can multiply the terms. So the denominator of 2 pi is 1. So we do 2 pi times 3, which is 6 pi. And then 1 times 2 is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the period is 3 pi. Now the phase shift is the h value. And in this case, after we factored out 2 over 3, we got x minus pi over 2 in the parentheses. So I'll write the equation again here just to make it clear. Y equals negative 4 sine 2 over 3 times x minus pi over 2. So this is the equation we got. So in this case, the h value is positive pi over 2 because in the general equation we have x minus h. So that's why pi over 2 is positive for h value. So if you remember, I told you earlier that the h value has a sign which is opposite the sign of that term in the equation. Now since h is a positive value, that means the phase shift is pi over 2 units to the right side. Now we can find the vertical shift, and vertical shift is the term being added or subtracted to the sine term at the end, and in this case there is no term being added or subtracted to the sine term, so that's why the vertical shift is 0. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to solve a problem like this one. So you have to be careful that whenever there is a coefficient of x not equal to 1 and then there is a term being added or subtracted to the x term, we have to factor out the coefficient of x from both terms in the parentheses before we start analyzing the function and finding the different characteristics of the function. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.